All right, before we start back up, I figured since you showed me yours, I should show you mine. So this is, I did remove my address, city, state, zip, etc. But this is my resume. It used to be 3 pages. I've cut it down to 2. So I've got my name. You really should get used to putting your name in a little bit bigger font and bold it. All right. Address, city, state, zip, phone. And I think I've told this to all of you. You know, it's funny. It used to be when I worked at Blackhawk, you could email an instructor and send homework from any email. So if you sent it from your personal email, it was okay. And then there was an instructor. She's left many years ago, but she decided one year, you know what? You've got a BTC email. That's the only thing I'm going to accept anything from. So she had people turning in their assignments, but from a non-Blackhawk Technical College email, so she didn't accept them. All right, which is really totally warranted when you think about it. All right, and one of the guys I used to work with, John Norland, who was a general education teacher and a real great guy, he was telling me that before this happened, that he got a bunch of emails on assignments in, and he said his wife happened to be at the table with him while he was grading things. And he said, "Who's hot chick 1993? She's like, "What do you mean? That's who he got it sent from." You don't want to do that. What I'm getting to is you want a personal looking email address. Most of you, your names are probably not that unique. So you probably, if you wanted to, you might, I'm not saying you could get bradywilliams@gmail.com. You might have to put a number before it or whatever, but it should be something like that. All right? It shouldn't be like, I don't care. Let's just say you love alligators. It shouldn't be alligatorlover@gmail. You shouldn't do things like that. All right? And now I've got my YouTube channel in here. Of course, you probably don't have one. All right? And the way that you do this, I know that last semester, I believe when you were in your general education class, you guys had to do a resume for one of your assignments, correct? All right. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's probably nothing wrong with the format that the instructor used. You might look at my format and say, this really stinks. I wouldn't have, that's fine. As I told you, when I gave you copies, when I gave you your resumes back that I marked up, it's your resume. All right. There literally has been a book for years. I'm not going to bring it out, but it's updated every year. It's called What Color is Your Parachute? You may or may not have heard about it. All right. But it's all about interviewing. It's a fairly big book. You can buy it as a pocket book and it'll cost you probably $20. But the point is they had a thing in there of different people and how they got jobs. There was one guy who got black paper and used white writing. And he said that he sent resumes out and he was getting more than 50% response rate. Okay? And so, well, geez, then I'm going to do that. Well, as soon as everybody starts doing it, it's not novel anymore. See what I'm saying? All right? So most people still use white paper with black text. All right? But do you have to do that? No. But remember, if you use a different colored text, you probably want to print it out on a color printer. You also don't want to use, I've seen this where people have used cursive fonts. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be the guy or the gal who is known as, doing something differently where they might think it's in a bad way. All right? Now, I put this in here, this is what Rankin asked. All right? Asked for, so I put that in. Again, the order in which you do this, what you say when you do this, etc., is up to you. Does everybody know that if you're going to put in bullets, all right, and if you go to home here and you go to here, that's how you put in bullets, but if you click here, there's other things that you can add, and if you don't want to do that, there's even a way, I don't remember what it is offhand, but you can put in custom bullets. So if you had your own little ping or your own little JPEG or GIF that you created and you save it, it's got to be a very small size, maybe 10 by 10. I don't know what size these are. But you can put those in too if you want to do that. All right? All right, so I've got that. Then I've got my prior employment experience. I would recommend for you, and I've shown this to you on those of you who gave me your copies of your resume, which I think now is just about everyone. I'd recommend you're trying to get a job, I would put your education in first. And when you're doing this for your education, for your work experience, always in descending order. So the newest first. All right? And if you haven't done much, I'm not trying to be funny here. Don't put anything down about high school. They don't care. Most places assume that if you're going to college and you're pursuing a degree, you've got a high school diploma. They don't care. They also don't care where you went to high school. All right? If that hurts your feelings, I'm sorry, but they don't care. Yes.
What about like mine? I had 100 volunteer service hours at my high school.
You know, if you want to put that in like where I've got that down here, certifications and awards, you could put it down there. That's what I'd recommend. Now, you can talk to other people and they might tell you he's full of it. You know, you should put in this, you should put in your high school, you should put in, and again, it's your resume. So bottom line is you put in what you think is most warranted. This is all the stuff that I did, you know, before Blackhawk. So this is 1992 and earlier. When you've got stuff that goes back, you know, hell, most of you weren't born back then, all right? But when you've got stuff that's that far back, that's why that's all I put in there. I didn't put any responsibilities, etc. I didn't put anything in there. But since I was at Blackhawk for 23 and a half years, I felt it warranted something. All right, so that was the first page of mine. The second page, that's where my education is. Again, I'd recommend you move that education stuff up to your first page. If you don't want to do that, then don't do it. There's all sorts of talk out there. Do you put in an objective or not? Most of you had an objective. I've read articles that say put one in. I've had ones that say don't put one in. All right, but I will tell you one thing not to do. That let's assume that Colin's going to apply for 3 jobs. One is a database job, one is a web job, one is a programming job. He can have 3 different objectives. That's okay. But for your objective, this is not a joke because I've seen people do this. Do not copy something out of an ad in the paper and put that in there as your objective. Companies are not stupid. They'll realize you did that. And it doesn't really look good for you to do that. Again, with education, all right, notice in the same way, I've got mine in descending order. All right? I would recommend that unless your GPA is less than a 3, you always put it in. All right? And notice in here, mine says in major, because my GPA overall wasn't a 3. Wow, you were a bad student? I wasn't a terrible student, but I worked 3 jobs. I was working 80 hours a week. So no, I didn't have it was a 2.9 something. But in my major, it was better. All right? Then if you've done anything extra, so to speak, if you've done anything extra, like I've got these Udemy classes that I've taken some other classes before that, again, in reverse or descending order. Again, this may not mean anything to you, major courses taught, because you probably never taught anything, okay? And I put in this stuff at the bottom. That's where Colin had asked the question. That's where I'd suggest you put in anything special, so to speak. It's also recommended today that you don't say references furnished upon request. If they want references, they're going to ask you, and they're going to expect that you're going to furnish them. All right? If you still want to put that in, again, it's your resume, put it in. But it really should go at the bottom if you are going to put it in. Yes?
For like generic resumes, if you're sending for random jobs, I could see having or not having references available upon request. But what about like for specific jobs? Can you put like references?
If they ask you for them, would be the only time I'd put them in. Because if they call you, in for an interview, then I would have another page that have references on it. I wouldn't give them that. I came here and I was told I was going to be interviewed by 3 people. I was interviewed by 4. No big thing. But I've already gone to interviews where they say you're going to be interviewed by 2 people, and there's almost 10. It just depends. The reason I'm telling you that is I assume that everybody has my resume, but I'm not sure. So usually when I go to interview at a place, I'll bring a dozen of them with me. And I might have that that page with references as a separate page.
Could you shorten it to just one major reference person?
Typically, they're going to ask for 3 people.
Yeah, but on like putting it on your resume.
Again, it's your resume, but I would say typically it's 3 people. There's no one in here that I wouldn't give a reference to, so if you want to put me down for one, that's fine. Even that, do I put them in alphabetic order? Do I put, it's whatever you want, all right? And, people say, well, I haven't done that much where I even, if you go to church, it can be your pastor, your rabbi, your priest, whatever, if they're willing to give a reference for you. Don't put a family member. If you are going to put a family member in, ideally at least they have a different last name than you. All right? But if Brady has on his, and he doesn't, but if he has here, Brady Williams Jr., let's say, and under his references, first thing he has is Brady Williams Sr. That's going to look a little suspect. And I maybe have told you this before. I found this, it was so amazing, it was funny, that we used to have a class at Blackhawk that we taught this, and I was one of the people who taught it. And I had a woman one year, she put 3 people down, because she had to put 3. Her first one was her priest, not a problem. Her second one was her mother, who had the same name as her. The third one, and I've never seen this before, she put herself down as a reference. Her name was Joanne. I won't tell you her last name, but it said, Joanne, last name, student, black. I said, who is that? Do you have I said, no, that's me. I said, you don't ever put you down as a reference. Why? She's being serious. I said, well, first of all, are you ever going to say anything bad about yourself? I might. Okay, whatever. All right. But those are just things, again, that's another way of doing it. One thing I will tell you, never do, is don't go into Word, grab one of their templates, and use that. Don't do that. You shouldn't, because they've seen those already, and yours should look pretty standard, but not Word template standard. Yes.
With you saying use your priest or whatever, are you saying that the references don't have to do with the job?
No, it depends. Let's say that you've been at a place for 5 years, all right, and you're leaving, but you know your boss real well, you know a couple coworkers real well. Those might be your references. That's totally fine. All right. Now, and I looked at mine. I'm not going to say this isn't meant to be a joke. I looked at my references yesterday. My first one died over the summer. Well, of course, I'm going to take him off, all right, because it wouldn't make much sense anymore, all right? But yeah, ideally, you want references, and you want up-to-date references, all right? That's why I said if you want to use me, that's fine. And you might put me on top, not because I deserve to be on top, but it's somebody who deals with you today. If you've moved here, Ethan moved here. So if he puts his priest down, let's say, but he hasn't been to that church in 5 years, all right, then you don't want to call up a reference and have him say, I think I remember him, all right? You don't want to typically do that. You want to have, but you're right. If you have people who are in the business, so to speak, that's who you want to list first. So over time, if you're going for your 3rd job, and every time you've been at a job, you left on good terms, you want to put those people down. And then if I'm not on there anymore, it's no big deal. I still get calls from people, literally, I get calls from people that graduated 10 years ago. Personally, I find that sad that they don't have more people in 10 years that they could have found for references than me. But when I look at the person, I kind of know why that's the case.
So when you put like their job under their reference name,
Yes.
don't they look for people with like distinguished jobs? Like
It depends.
You just have like
No, it depends. I mean, I've had a guy that I worked with at Blackhawk, and he left Blackhawk and he became a Chief Information Security Officer, CISO. So he was a C-level executive. He's making $150,000 a year basically. So I put him near the top. But after I put his title, then I put in parentheses, formerly of Blackhawk Technical College. All right. A guy that I used to work for, my dean, he's retired, but I had him on there. The guy who died over the summer, he was an accounting teacher who had retired that I worked with. All right. So again, it always depends. All right. Hopefully that helped. Now, why do I have it?
Are you just showing that you're like actively?
That's part of it. That's part of it. But I've had in the past where people say, "Can I see examples of your work?" And I now just in here and just in my stuff here, I've got close to I must have 500
So
videos.
the portfolio path for this thing.
You could do that. Yeah, you could. That's a good idea. Yeah, you could put portfolio and you could put that down. One thing I'm going to require that you do, just so you know, and we're going to do this. We have to do it soon, but we're going to do this. Is I want you right underneath on your iwt.rankin.edu. I want you to put a folder under there that's called portfolio, and I want all of your portfolio stuff in there, because I want to tell any prospective employer that they can go to iwt.rankin.edu/ALHassan/portfolio, and boom, it'll bring up a means index page. That's the way it should be. Because some of you, I don't, you've used really weird names or whatever. I don't want that. You should never make it hard for somebody to find out about you. That's all. But that's something you very well could do that. It's not a bad idea at all. Now, you might want to get rid of that after if keep your resume up to date. After you get a job, you might want to get rid of that. What I used to have here was my Blackhawk channel, and I had to change that yesterday. I hadn't updated my resume since I came here. All right. Yes.
Also, when you print it, like, because you have 2 pages, do you print the pages separately, or do you do front and back, or what's?
The question was, since I've got 2 pages, I would recommend always print 2 pages, because there's a lot of places that are going to make copies of them, and they may forget that or they might never look and see that it's 2 pages, or some copiers don't work well when you do double page. All right, so I'd always recommend you do it as separate pages. And people even ask, well, do I staple them together? Again, that's all stuff that's up to you as far as how you want to do things. I will tell you, and I've mentioned this to you before, one thing is, make sure when you start going in for interviews, if nothing else, and this is no joke, if you're all hot and sweaty, literally, stop in the bathroom first, wash your hands, and dry your hands well. You will be remembered if you've got a hot, sweaty hand. I don't care if it's 100 degrees outside. You'll be remembered anyway if you've got a hot, sweaty hand, and probably not in a good way. All right? All right. So let's go back to where we were. Amin had asked, and I did put all the stuff that we did yesterday is, not that one, I want this one. All the stuff that we did yesterday is now on. We did this first, we finished up with that section 5, then we started the PHPMyAdmin. I forgot to tape it, so I retaped it this morning, all right? And then part 2 that we did yesterday. So that's everything. I now have, I'll be able to add by the end of the class period the lecture that I just did before the break, and then I'll add this one, and if we do another one, that afterward. All right, so that'll all be in there. All right. Plus, I think I told you this already on my YouTube channel. I also have a thing that says databases, and I'm going to add 7 more videos, so there'll be 54 videos. And it's everything from how to set up XAMPP to all the stuff we've been doing, because I do the videos first in the morning, so if I've got problems, hopefully I've got them fixed, and then I do them again for you guys. Yes.
This is going back to like interview process and also like resumes and stuff. What do you do if you're part of like a project? Like, can you show examples of what you did? Or
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
what if like, where do you draw the line on like intellectual property when you're working with other people?
Oh, okay, all right, okay, yeah. Where do you draw the line when you're working with intellectual property? You tell me if I'm answering it. All right, before I left Woodward Governor, I wrote an order entry system for them. It's still the best thing I've ever done. All right. I should have kept a copy of it, and I would never have printed the whole thing out, but I could have shown them copies of what I did and some copies of the output. They consider that to be proprietary. So if in doubt, ask. All right. But I will tell you that if you work on a project with other people, that there's nothing wrong if you work on a project with other people, making it sound like you did more than everybody else. Okay. That said, don't take it to the point of lying. I know a person that when I was working at AT&T, she got a promotion, and from what I heard, all the people who worked on this project with her afterwards, they all liked her. None of them liked her afterward, because she basically threw them all under the bus and said that there were 4 other people working with her, and she said she did 100% of the work, which was a total lie. I wasn't one of the people, but I know the other 4 people. So you can inflate, but you should never lie.
You could be held accountable,
Yes.
especially if you're using something like Udemy. So like,
Well, even if you grab something from Udemy, you know, then I'd ask them. It depends. On a lot of Udemy courses, what they do is they say, this stuff is all open for you. You can modify it, you can do whatever. If they don't, then you can email the person, get the address of the person who, either email Udemy or email the author, if you've got the course author's email address, and ask them.
also like open source projects on the web, I guess.
Typically, if it's open source, that's, you can do anything you want to do with it.
I guess, but if you know, if it's listed on there, you know, people kind of are staking claims on what exactly they did, you know what I mean? It
Yes.
could be-
Well, if you grab something that's open source and you modify it, you let people know what you modified, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay.
All right? I mean, that's just my opinion. So, all right. So where we left off is, if you haven't done this, I want you to bring in those files. In other words, if you have not done this, I want you to bring in those SQL files. So you should do the employees, the departments, and the city-state zip. So you should bring all those in. And the reason I want to do that is now, between now and about 10 o'clock, we'll do some other kinds of queries that we didn't do earlier. All right? So I'm jumping back here into PHPMyAdmin. Does this make sense to everyone? That now, let's suppose I grab this city-state zip right here. All right? And let's suppose I want to come in here and I want to add a new city. Okay? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add Troy. Everybody with me? All right, so I'm going to add Troy, Missouri. I don't know if any of you live in Troy, or I don't know what the zip code is, but I'm going to make one up. In fact, I'll put St. Louis in here because I know what their zip code is. So I'm going to add St. Louis. Now, I can come in here and I can go in and literally add another one in a lot of ways. Would you agree with that? I can come in here right now, I can click the SQL tab, and I can type insert into, city, state, zip, values, and I can put it in. You don't have to type this, but please look up on the screen here. So what I'm telling you is I can come in here and type in insert, you have to spell it right, insert into, and I can say city, state, zip, values, and what do we have in here? Well, we've got the ID, so I can make that null. The city, so I can put in here St. Louis. The state, so I can put in here Missouri, and the zip code, which is 63113. I can do that, and it'll put it in. So I can do it just like that. Does that make sense to everyone? We've gone through the insert process. So I'm going to put in a couple of them and to just show you different ways that we could do this. Does everybody understand that? So I'm going to show you 2 or 3 ways that we can go and do inserts right now. This is one way. Now, if I've got an error, it's going to show me right away, which is a good thing. I click go, and if it does come back, I'll know real quick, because if I browse, it doesn't look like it worked. It says showing rows 0 to 3. I might have to refresh. There, no, it's not. So what didn't it like? Insert. Well, I want to make sure first. So I'm going to click structure. I'm going to go back to browse. I didn't see anything I did in there that looked wrong, so I'm going to try it again. Insert into city, state, zip, values, null. Null, you should be able to put it in upper or lowercase. Let's use their backticks like they used them. St. Louis. State would be Missouri. And the zip code is 63113. All right? So I use backticks. You could use backticks, you could use single quotes, you could use double quotes. You don't need the semicolon on the end. All right? I should be able to click go here. Maybe that's not the right go. I don't know. I didn't want to do that. All right. That should be correct. And there should be go. It's giving me an error. Unknown column, St. Louis in field list. All right. So there's something it doesn't like here.
I think it says we're putting null. There's no reason for us to put null if we have city, state, and zip, right?
No, because that's for the
Oh,
ID.
okay, never mind.
All right.
I don't know.
Now, I could come back and I can say this. All right. So let's talk about how we can change this. We can say, okay, all I want to put in is the city and the state and the zip code. All right. And if I do that, then I don't need this. See that?
Yeah.
All right. So let me try go here and see if I get an error. I still got an error. Unknown column, St. Louis in field list. So there's something in there that it doesn't like. All right, that should be the city. Let's try it without the back quotes. Let's try it with single quotes and see if that matters. All right. Insert into city, state, zip. City, state, zip code, values. That should be right. All right, one row inserted. So for whatever reason, it doesn't appear as though it liked those backticks. Okay, and you say it's not in there. I may have to refresh, and actually notice it put it in as ID 0. Okay, I don't like that. Okay, I think it was because of the backticks to begin with.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't like that because I don't want an ID of 0. So you should all know this. If yours did that and it came in as a 0, you should know how to remove that. And what is that? It's delete from city, state, zip, where city, state, zip ID equals 0. That should make sense now. These queries that we're starting to do should be really resonating with you. They should make sense as far as what we're doing. All right? So if I click go and I go back and browse, you notice it's gone. All right? So I want to put it in again, but I want to hopefully put it in this time the right way. So click my SQL, insert into city, state, zip, values, and the null should be okay, but I'm going to use single quotes here. St. Louis, what's that?
The reason why null isn't working is because we don't have the CSV ID with auto.
Oh, that's right, we didn't set it up with an auto increment. Okay, all right, well, if that's what you meant, I didn't understand. So 1005, I think we have 4 in there right now, so I'd have to manually put it in. Thank you. The state, MO, and the zip, 63313. All right. So let's try that. And go back to browse. And there it is. Well, now it's 1005. Well, and that's fine. That's fine. So you should know now how to change that. Now, what I'm going to show you, you shouldn't ever do. All right? But if I haven't put any data in yet, I can go here, click edit, and change that to just a 5. And it'll work okay. When I go back to browse, it's now a 5. You really shouldn't do that and go monkeying with primary keys. All right? It's really not considered good protocol to do that. All right? So that's one way to do it. Now, as you mentioned, what if I go back here to structure and I go back to this field right here? Everybody see this? I'm back at the structure and I'm clicking here all right, and I want to click change. Well, one of the things I can do is I can go back and now I can check the auto increment. Okay? And after I do that, there should be, if I go down here far enough, there should be a save down here someplace, or a go, or a something, save. Now I should be able to go in, all right, and put that in as no. Thank you for both of you for pointing that out. All right? Yeah, we didn't put the auto increment. I should have had you do that before too. Okay? And we didn't. That's okay. All right? But those are just examples then of some of the stuff you can do. Let's take a look at the departments. All right, so here's our departments. So right now, what I'd like is, let's say I want to put in a new department here. So again, I'm going to go back to the structure. All right, so I went back to the structure for the departments here. Okay, and I'm going to click on department number, and I'm going to click on change, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to add the auto increment. Okay, you can do that. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. And I'm going to save. So now I've got the auto increment in there. All right, now can somebody, I'm asking, can somebody, I want to put in a new record. I want to add a new department right now. All right, so we're going to add a brand new department, and the department name is going to be, I don't think we have receiving. Maybe we do. We'll call it auditing. So we want to put in a new department that's called auditing. Can somebody tell me what, and I'd like you to do this too. Can somebody tell me what is the query we have to put in to do that? Insert into. Notice too, it gives you help. If you haven't figured that out already, I can just hit tab and it finishes it for me. All right, so insert into, well, the name of our table is departments. Now, what you do next depends on whether or not you did the auto increment. If you did not do the auto increment, if you did not, all right, then, in fact, we're going to put in the networking department. I don't like auditing. We're computer people. All right. So we can say here, values, and again, I'm assuming here you put in the auto increment. So now I can say null and networking. So it should automatically put in the new department number for me, okay? And the name should be networking. Does that make sense? Okay, I want you to do that, and I want you to purposely spell networking wrong. So I'm going to put 2 Ks in there. I'm going to do that so I can go back and change it. All right? So I put that in. I click go. Boom, it's in there. How do I know? I go to browse, and there's networking. And since I put auto increment in, it numbered it for me. All right? Now, I purposely misspelled networking to show you. I want to now show you 3 ways we can change this. 3. They all do exactly the same thing. So which one do you use? 3. You know, it's any one you want. So I can click here where it says networking. I can click the box and choose edit. And then I can manually change it right here. See that? I can do that. Not a problem. And click go when I'm done. Boom. That's one way. The second way, I could come in here and type this. Update departments set department name equal to networking and spell it right, where department number is equal to 6. That's another way that I could do it. All right, that would work. All right, that to me is a lot more work than manually going in the first way we did it. So that's 2 ways that we can do it. All right, the other thing is I could grab this query if I wanted to, and I could come back into here. And now I'm going to use Acme 4 because that's the one I'm using. Yours might be different. All right, so I'm going to select star from departments. And notice, networking is still spelled incorrectly. So I could put in that same query here. Update department, set department name equal to networking, where department number equals 6, boom. And it changed it there. All right, now that I've changed it there, now that it's done, all right, some of you are keying that in and that's fine. But now that I've done it there, now I can go back into here if I want to. And I don't need the query here anymore. I don't want to run it again. It would be silly, although I could. And if I go back and browse, it says, you sure you want to leave this page? Yes, I do, because I don't want that. But if I go back and browse now it's spelled correctly. I would not recommend that you be changing stuff both on the console and on PHPMyAdmin. You can do it. Okay? And I want to say one more thing about that, and hopefully this makes sense. The way this is going to change, okay, is next semester we're going to do stuff like this. Let me for right now, let me just get a white screen here. All right, next semester we're going to do stuff like this. You're going to have a form, a C# form, and you're going to have something like this. It'll say something like department name, and you'll have a drop-down list right here. And what do you think you'll have in there? You'll have information technology, web design, shipping, etc., all those. And as soon as you pick one, you'll have a thing that'll almost look like a database grid. So if I come in here and I pick, for example, networking, let's assume we had people who were working in networking, then it's going to fill this up with what looks like a grid with everybody who works in networking. Does that make sense? So that's a database-driven application. That's what a lot of what we're going to do next semester is. That makes you valuable. All right. There's a lot of people who do it, but most of the people who do it don't know their butt from a hole in the ground. They just picked up a book and started keying stuff in. All right. But you're going to learn it, hopefully at least, the right way. The book we use is a good book. All right. I was hoping that I actually have this script from the book. In the book, what they use in there, and we'll use it, but we're going to build our own too. It's called the Halloween Superstore. And it's a Halloween, one of those things that crops up around the beginning of September or mid-September, where they rent out space in a room and they've got costumes and stuff. That's what this thing is. All right. And what I was hoping to do, in fact, if you look in here, I took the whole darn thing that they have, and this is the Halloween Superstore. That's it. That's everything. And I took it and converted it over from SQL Server into MySQL. The problem is, for some reason, no matter what I do here, when I put in this, it's not recognizing my tabs. It's not, even when I put in spaces, it's taking these fields like this and it's cramming them together. So I'm getting error messages. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't know why. I don't know if it was, if the file I have is corrupted or what. But if I can get that to work, what I'll do is I'll make that available to you so you can start looking at that if you want to do that. There are quite a few tables in there. All right. Now, what
Is it for every one of those tables?
it's when I tried doing it for each one of these. I mean, watch this one right here, for example, when I do this. Copy it. I'm going to get an error message anyway, but see how it ran that together? See that? And I don't know why it's doing that. I took it out and put it into a brand new file, and the brand new file I put it into was in Notepad, and it still did it. So I don't know. I don't have the wherewithal to go and copy all that stuff in or type it in manually. I don't want to do that. But if it's at all possible, I'll see if I can get it fixed. All right. Before we take, no, it's a .SQL file. It literally is created as a .SQL file, like one of those that we created. In fact, what I should try to do is run it through that tool that I just found this morning that I showed you, and see if we can get that to work. No, what I'm saying is that the thing we just did, that SQLIO or whatever the heck it was called, I should try running it through there. All right, we'll see. If at all possible, like I said, I'll get it to work. All right, I want to jump back into this because now I want to do this. This will be the first time we've done something like this. So, Amin's my boss, and he said he would like a report that has everyone's first name, last name, and the department they work for. You with me? That's it. So we know that we're going to get the department name from the department table. We also know that we're going to get from the employees table, whoops, let's make it smaller, come on. We're going to end up getting the first name and the last name from there. But we have to do a join in order to get this to work. All right? So let's go in and do a join. It's going to be our first join that we're doing inside of PHPMyAdmin. All right? So again, our goal here is we want the first name and the last name. We don't care about the middle initial. And that'll come from this table. And then from the departments table, we want the department name. Since it exists in two different tables, we have to do a join. And we're going to actually get used to using good syntax and good rules from the get-go. All right? I don't care if you put it all in lowercase, that doesn't matter. But the point is, I'm going to say select, and I'm going to say here, E dot first name, comma, E dot last name, comma, D dot department name. Make this bigger, it's kind of hard to read there. All right, so I want to select that from employees, E, departments, D, where E dot department depart, oh, it's, you know what, that's dept, isn't it? This is wrong. There. Dep name, first name, last name, dep name, employees, that's good. Where E dot dep number equals D dot dept number. And again, you don't need the semicolon. You can put it in, it won't hurt anything. And you might be copying this down. Let me run it first and make sure that it worked. Okay? I don't think there's anything that's wrong in this, but let's double check. All right, and there's our information. Okay? So we'll go back and I'll put it back in there so you can see. So that's the query. Now what's in there has to start making sense to you. All right? We're going to be, as soon as I can get you into databases next semester, we're getting into databases. And if we end up spending the majority of our time next semester on chapters 12 through 18, where you've got databases coming out of your ears, that's a good thing. I don't plan on spending a lot of time reviewing HTML and reviewing CSS. They've got a whole chapter on that. Okay? If you want to do that, and I'll give you a lecture on each one. But if you want to do that, that's fine. Then get the book as soon as you can. I'll put the book information back up there after the break. All right, and start looking at the book. I want you to learn the new stuff. Now, like for Colin, since he hasn't had the class, that'll all be new. I get that. All right, but for most of you, it'll be review. I'm asking this question. Is there anything, let me get rid of that stuff. Is there anything that's in this query now, because I'm asking you this, that doesn't make sense? Instead of saying E, we could have used the exact name, the whole name of the table. So we could have said select employees dot first name, comma, employees dot last name, comma, departments dot department name, from employees, comma, departments, where employees dot department number equals departments dot department number. Or, this is unique. We really didn't need the E dot here. We didn't need the E dot here. We don't need this here either. Okay, then we wouldn't have needed this. or this, but we do need, then we have to basically type in when employees dot department number equals departments dot department number. Okay? So there's a lot of ways that you could do this query. Again, many people I know that do this for a living, they believe in always putting in the name of the table dot something. All right, it just provides a little bit more self-documentation. But this should work just fine the way that it is. Find out. And I still get the same stuff. Now, you now know how to do this, okay? So you know what this thing does. All right? What I want you to do, and I'll show you how to do it in just a second if you forget, okay? But what I want you to do is I want you to list these out, so you're going to add stuff to your where, and I want you to give them to me by department name, and we're going to put that in descending order, and then by last name, and we'll put that in ascending order. So you should be able to add to this. And I'll give you a start. We're going to say and now you fill in the rest. All right, in fact, you don't even have to do an and. What is it? It's order by. So you figure out how to do these, and you add those in there. What I want is for you to take this that we're doing right here and add an order by in it, so you're going to include department name in descending order and last name in ascending order. All right? This is the kind of thing I'm putting on the thing that you're going to get tomorrow. That's good because I got to do it tonight, and I've got to go someplace tonight, so that'll be fun. All right. And I basically have it on the board already, right? Because it's by what? By department name, and that's dep name, I guess. Order by d.dep name. And we wanted that in descending order. And e dot, I don't want e dot or d dot. I've got to say departments. All right. And I'll save it, but let's go and take a look here, make sure it worked. All right, there's our web design. So notice it's in reverse alphabetic order, and these are in order based on last name. Harris comes before Williams, Schmidt before Wilson, etc. All right, this is the kind of thing that I'm going to have you do on this worksheet. Yes.
I see it without the departments before the department name and without the employees
Yeah.
before last name. Do you not serve
No,
those?
it doesn't matter. This might be, I'm saying might, Ken, it's up to you. What you might want to end up doing, does everybody know that if I come in here, for instance, if I'm not going to actually save it, but if I wanted to save this, I can do a file, save as, I can save it out to the desktop, and instead of Word, I can save it as a PDF file. Reason I'm telling you that is you might want to take one or both of these worksheets that we're going to work on and put those in your portfolio. Because then you're demonstrating to the person or persons looking at your work, I know databases. This is the kind of stuff I've done. They're not going to typically say, hey, Evan, show me an example of your work. Write me a select statement. They're not going to do that during an interview. There have been times I've interviewed at places where they have, they might give you a little test and ask you got 20 minutes to solve this problem. It won't be world hunger, but it might be something in 20 minutes that they think you should be able to do. All right. So I'm done talking. But what I'd like you to do is between now and 11:55, start all right, start writing your own queries. See if you can do other kinds of selects. See if you can combine information from all three tables. All right? And I'll give you, I'll even walk through it with you. So let's say that I want what? Let's say I want first name and last name, and I want first name, last name, address. No, first name, last name, zip code, and department name. Okay? So we did this before. Again, what I like about this that you can't do is I can go to any line I want to in here, where you can't do that in the console. All right? So I want first name, last name, and let's say zip code and department name from employees and from city, state, zip, and from departments where what? I don't care about the order by now. Where, so I'm going to really go nuts here. In fact, I am going to E, C, D. Or equals. D dot department number. And so let's see, what's the other thing that we join on? We have describe city, state, zip. Describe employees. Describe what's the other one? Departments. All right. So I've got here the zip code field here and the zip code field here. So, and E dot zip code equal C dot zip code, if I did that right. All right. I didn't like something. Zip code and field. Oh, let's look again. Oh, there it is, because we have to say which zip code. C dot, that's fine. All right, so see what I have now? I've now combined information from all three tables. I've got the first name and the last name. They're from the employees table. I've got the zip code from the city, state, zip table, and I've got the department name from the departments table. And the query that I used to do that is right there. All right. So see if you can do that and come in and start writing your own queries. Okay? When you come in tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll spend, it should take less than an hour, it should take no more than a half an hour, but I will run through the stuff with you. I want to make sure you've got your schema correct. Okay, so we'll do the schema, and then we will basically bring in the data too, but I'm just going to have 20, 30, 40, however many queries. And then you'll have the rest of the period to work on those, and you'll have Friday, other than when those students are in here, for that 45 minutes to work on those. All right? Then next week, we're going to go on from here. Everybody with me? Okay.